XRP just pulled off a Wall Street flex most people weren't ready for. CME XRP futures just smashed records with 6,000 contracts in open interest, and traders are now talking about it joining the 1 billion open interest club faster than anyone ever expected. This is institutional money showing up out loud. Products like this. As of recently, Brad Garlinghouse posted on X that an XRP rewards credit card is now officially live through Gemini and their debit card, where essentially every single day you can make purchases on this debit card and earn 4% XRP back, which is huge. And here's an image of him holding that card, and here's what it would look like. It is directly through MasterCard, and my oh my, what a partnership that is for them. So if that sounds interesting to you, this is not any sort of a plug. We just cover XRP here. Still, you can go to this link over here at gemini.com/XRP if you want access to that. And the Winklevoss twins, I believe, are going to gain a lot of traction on their Gemini exchange, which is a smaller exchange, relatively speaking, when you talk about Coinbase and Kraken in the United States. Gemini is still a solid exchange that is regulated, and they do back one for one all of their cryptocurrencies. And the rate at which we're seeing the entire global market accept XRP is quite fascinating, as it's rapidly increasing, and even the hive mind over at Polymarket is now increasing the odds that an XRP ETF will be approved this year. It was sitting pretty consistently at about 73% and pumped hard to 82% upon much of the recent news. Now, what I find quite interesting is that more often than not, Polymarket bettors are pretty right on the money. You want to lean with the majority because, again, the majority tends to get these predictions right. Now, in this case, there is an off chance that it doesn't occur and you stand to make way more money, but again, the odds are always against you. So it really just comes down to the fact that there is a high likelihood an ETF is going to be approved, and on that news, XRP will fly. Now, combine that with this post from Brad Garlinghouse where he talked about there being a change in tone, not only on stage, but in his one-on-one conversations with people at SALT, or a crypto symposium that happens in Wyoming every single year, and how just a year ago they had a completely different tone, and it's very dramatic and very palpable. But what truly shocked me in reading this post is the fact that he's talking about multiple Fed governors publicly embracing crypto technology. So not only is the age of crypto here, but the age of XRP is here, considering the fact that even Stuart Alderoty, the chief legal officer over at Ripple, was directly at SALT alongside A16Z, Blockchain Association, Mistin Labs, and CNBC. Everybody and their mother, the whole globe, is taking crypto seriously, the technology seriously, and one of those leaders at the forefront of everything with one of the biggest treasuries or access to capital to go and build the future of finance is Ripple. And again, here we have photos of Stuart Alderoty among many people from these companies and people from, but by and large, probably one of the most important pieces of news I'm going to cover in this video is this short video or reel from Aave, which is arguably the best, the safest, and the largest lender on the Ethereum network, which is now integrating RLUSD and double verified directly from Ripple and their account. But let's watch this short video. And so again, it's not a question of if, but when and how fast, how big real world assets are going to be brought on chain. And it's no secret that these are going to be one of the largest plays of the next decade. So having a stablecoin secured on the XRPL is going to be huge, and having that partner with the largest lending platform, now Aave's new platform, Horizon, is going to be huge, as the RLUSD is a crucial piece of Aave's Horizon platform, allowing tokenized products to be used as collateral and flow more efficiently across markets 24/7, 365. This is something that's never been done before in the history of finance. Typically, we've always had trading days, there's been holidays, there's been issues in terms of when wires reach another person, and so this slows everything down and causes congestion. But now that is no longer the case, using stablecoins and using blockchain technology among some of the safest and biggest players, again, one of those being Ripple with RLUSD. Now, with that said, let's dive into the price action, and we'll also look at a bit of order books and liquidation levels to see whether or not we have some more downside before we start breaking to the upside. And I personally believe we probably are going to continue dropping a little bit. Again, the market tends to do exactly what you don't want it to do according to the news. In other words, the majority of the news has been pretty bullish all year. And generally speaking, we've been up all year, starting in November of 2024, where we broke for a new high in January. And since that point in time, we put in a new all-time high in July. But since that point in time, XRP has failed or struggled to break for some new highs. And so right now you can see that we are in an intermediate term downtrend. And so if I take a trend line tool and drag it from the very top of this prior all-time high through the majority of these wicks, and even touching this wick where we had a bit of a bull trap, we hit this wick, we basically hit this wick, you can see that the price of XRP has failed to break above the trend line. Now, from this point in time, XRP has also maintained its support right around here at about $2.77, not only touching it once and twice, but 3 times, now 4 times. And even when we broke for this range right here, you can see XRP pumped pretty hard from about 250 all the way up to 298 before being sold off not only 1 day, but 2 days in a row, which leads me to believe that yes, this is a support, especially when you zoom out. And so when you zoom out and look at prior history and ranges, aside from this Trump pump right here where he said he was going to add XRP to a national strategic reserve, which currently hasn't happened, and it remains to be seen whether or not we're actually going to see that happen. You can see that both in February of 2025 and December of 2024, this price acted as a major resistance. If I go out to the weekly time frame, even better, going all the way back to January of 2018 when we hit our very first all-time high on XRP, you can see on a weekly time frame that was the major resistance. So right here we are in major support zone. And at the end of the day, it is very much possible we break down even a little bit further, potentially down to about 245 up to 264. And in those ranges, I would be accumulating, considering when you look at the VRVP, we have a lot of support at about 244. So right here, this is a huge cliff that will act as a support in terms of total volume traded and arguably just market interest. But as things stand, this bearish engulfing candle and breakdown on a weekly time frame, if we close here in about a day, will be pretty dangerous for XRP. Now, the reason that this is happening is not only because there's been a lot of people that are profitable and sellers here, but again, the market tends to do what you don't think it's going to do. We also have to understand that XRP is following Bitcoin to a T. Bitcoin put in a new all-time high, broke below its support range right here at about $112,000, and has continued dumping and declining to $107,000. And the first major range of support that I can see on this chart is going to be somewhere right around here to $106,000 or $105,000. So we might have a bit of a way to go down. And by the way, if Bitcoin continues to decline, so will XRP. Virtually everything in the crypto market is dependent on Bitcoin right now. And then to further confirm that, you can see that consistently we've seen bigger sale days, especially on these capitulation days 1 and 2 right here. And then we've seen an increase in sell volume overall. We've seen a few small green candles, but on average, we've seen far more red candles and far bigger red bars on the sell than we've seen on the buy. So right now, it does look like there's a bit of profit taking, a bit of Bitcoin and XRP have started hitting exchanges. And typically when people deposit their crypto on exchanges, it's because they plan or intend to sell. So now what we're going to do is look at the liquidation map. And again, the first thing I do is I look at Bitcoin and then see if it differs or is very similar to XRP. Sometimes they do differ, meaning there is more leverage in one than the other, or day traders are treating them very differently. Generally speaking though, over the long term, 7 days plus, because 7 days for a day trader is a long time, things definitely can stay mostly the same. In other words, if Bitcoin's going down, the rest of the crypto market goes down. That said, I'm going to leave it on Bitcoin right here. I'm going to go to 7 days. I'm going to remove Binance, OKX, and Bybit. And as you can see here, Bitcoin is currently sitting at a price of 107. However, on the actual long side, there is only $2.71 billion. And the shorts truly are in control to the tune of $12.2 billion. In other words, we have a 6x differential, and so it remains true that the bears are still in control, and I'm pretty confident we're going to continue to decline a little bit further. In terms of where to buy, well, we just covered that on the chart. Now let's go ahead and change this from Bitcoin to XRP. And as you can see on the 7-day time frame, removing again these different liquidations on all of the exchanges and just covering the grand total or majority, we have about $133 million on longs, and we have nearly 4 times that at $564 million on shorts. In other words, if the price of XRP hits $3.13, then $555 million would be liquidated. These people would be wrong. But more often than not, when you have this much leverage to the downside, they really put a lot of pressure on the buyers. However, we can also see that it's pretty thin in this range right here. So whenever it is, and we'll go ahead and zoom in right there, right now they're both fighting for control within about 277 up to about 280. But if it dumps down to 275, then this would mean that the bears truly are in control. And so we want to watch the range that we're in pretty closely, especially on something like XRP, considering we are in a downtrend. We're consistently bouncing right back down to that 276 level. So we literally only have about a penny left before this thing's going to want to break down to at least 260 and if not 245. But that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also check out altcoinpro.com. We've nearly had almost 1,000 members for about a year now that have consistently been involved on this platform because they love the courses, the classes, the live calls that we offer. We actually onboard experts from all over the industry to teach and train you. I host a technical analysis call live every single Tuesday where I share everything you need to learn and know in order to look at a chart properly and how to use indicators and bar charts and volume and candlesticks and confirmations and pivot points and you name it. We really don't cover the majority of that on this channel because it would be just far too long of a video. We also have experts and pros sharing all sorts of DeFi yields and airdrops that are essentially free money if you put your crypto to work, or better yet, just get involved on any one of these new platforms. And some people have earned crazy amounts on those alone. We've showed you result after result after result. And it's no secret that this thing works because, again, we've been talking about this for quite some time. Why is it that we almost have 1,000 members consistently paying us $97 a month if this stuff wasn't working for them? So all you have to do is check out altcoinpro.com if you want to take advantage of everything this bull market has to offer and get access to one of the best, if not the best community on planet Earth for crypto. Thank you so much for watching this video, my friend. Until next time, goodbye.